Carl Jung's most dangerous discovery wasn't about mental illness, it was about people who see everything others miss and why this ability destroys them. In his clinical practice, Jung documented patients with what he called differentiated perception, individuals who could read micro-expressions, sense hidden emotions, and perceive psychological patterns that escaped everyone else. They saw through social masks, detected lies instantly, and felt the unconscious tensions in every room. Jung called this discovery dangerous because these people consistently ended up isolated, exhausted, and unable to maintain normal relationships. Not because they were unstable, but because seeing everything came with a psychological cost no one understood. Today, I'll show you Jung's most dangerous discovery about people who see everything and why he believes this rare ability either destroys you or transforms you into something extraordinary.
The case began with a patient Jung described in his private notes in 1913, representing the rarest personality type with undifferentiated intuitive perception. She could walk into any room and immediately sense the psychological atmosphere. Who was lying? Who was in emotional pain? Jung wrote, "The patient displays an extraordinary capacity for perceiving unconscious contents in others, but this faculty appears to cause her considerable distress rather than advantage. She couldn't engage in small talk because she saw through every social facade. She couldn't maintain friendships because people felt exposed and uncomfortable around her." Jung realized he was observing what happens when the unconscious becomes too conscious, when perception becomes too differentiated for social survival. Her observations of people's private thoughts proved remarkably accurate. This wasn't psychosis, it was consciousness so advanced it had become socially dangerous.
Jung discovered something even more disturbing. These highly intuitive individuals become overwhelmed by absorbing the entire unconscious atmosphere of their environment. Modern research validates that roughly 20% of people have heightened sensitivity, but Jung identified a specific 1%, the introverted intuitive type, who perceive unconscious patterns with startling clarity. They see the depression behind forced smiles and feel the collective shadow that groups agree to ignore. Jung wrote, "The danger lies not in the perception itself, but in the psychic isolation it creates. When one sees clearly what others cannot see, one becomes a mirror that society cannot bear to look into. Consequently, they become targets for shadow projection. When someone's shadow is reflected back, the unconscious mind has two choices: integrate the shadow or attack the mirror. The person who sees clearly gets blamed for creating the problems they're merely observing, becoming the scapegoat."
Jung observed that overwhelming perception manifested differently, identifying 4 distinct patterns within the introverted intuitive type. Type 1, the feeling intuitive, combines intuition with a differentiated feeling function. They absorb others' emotions so completely they live in a state of perpetual emotional contagion, feeling it in their own bodies. Type 2, the thinking intuitive, sees psychological patterns and predicts behavioral outcomes, forecasting breakdowns months before they occur through unconscious pattern recognition. Type 3, the sensation intuitive, detects the physical manifestations of psychological states, sensing illness and bodily tension before symptoms appear. Type 4, the pure intuitive, is the rarest type. They see everything but have difficulty organizing or expressing their perceptions coherently, living in a state of perpetual overwhelm without adequate psychological structure to process it constructively.
Jung concluded that seeing everything without proper integration posed genuine dangers. Danger 1, collective unconscious disruption. The individual who perceives too clearly threatens the collective agreements upon which social cohesion depends. They become a destabilizing force simply by existing authentically. Danger 2, psychological isolation. Your greatest strength becomes the source of your greatest suffering. The individual becomes an island of awareness in an ocean of unconsciousness, living in a different reality from everyone else. Danger 3, identity dissolution. Most dangerously, through participation mystique, people absorb external psychological material until their boundaries dissolve, losing contact with their own authentic personality. Jung warned this leads to psychological annihilation, the complete loss of individual identity in favor of collective possession. Because unintegrated superior perception posed such dangers, Jung developed the individuation process. Phase 1 is recognition and differentiation. Jung taught patients to establish what belongs to them and what belongs to others through daily complete solitude, allowing absorbed material to settle. Phase 2 is shadow integration. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves, but only if we have the courage to look inward. Shadow integration means acknowledging that you contain every human quality you observe in others, making you a complete person who can see clearly without judgment. Phase 3 is conscious participation, developing psychological containers to hold others' unconscious contents temporarily while maintaining awareness that they are not your own, serving as a bridge without sacrificing your integrity. Jung studied historical figures to understand the difference between successful integration and breakdown. The case of Friedrich Nietzsche represents unintegrated perception. Nietzsche possessed extraordinary insight into human nature and saw through social facades with devastating clarity, but he wielded his perception as a weapon against society and remained identified with his superior function. His isolation and eventual breakdown show what happens when the individual becomes consumed by what they see. In contrast, the medieval mystic Meister Eckhart represents successful integration. Eckhart possessed mystical intuition but channeled his insights into compassionate service. He transformed his superior perception into wisdom that could nourish others, practicing conscious humility, the recognition that superior perception is a gift to be shared wisely, not a weapon to be wielded. During his own confrontation with the unconscious, recorded in the Red Book, Jung realized his overwhelming perceptions weren't pathological, but evolutionary. Because individuals with superior perception face isolation, Jung emphasized finding the few who understand, those capable of engaging with differentiated consciousness without defensiveness. He identified 3 essential relationships: fellow individuated persons, forming a rare conscious minority where you can be authentic without fear; those actively engaged in their own individuation who can bear to be known by others; and natural containers who can hold psychological content without being overwhelmed. Jung taught a gradual revelation protocol. Begin with small, gentle observations. Notice their response pattern. Assess defense or curiosity, and frame insights as offerings rather than pronouncements to find people who don't view your perception as a threat. Successfully individuated persons become what Jung called culture carriers, consciousness pioneers whose psychological development precedes collective readiness. This transformation unfolds in 4 stages. Stage 1, recognition without overwhelm, the conscious acceptance of what one actually is. Stage 2, integration without isolation, becoming authentically yourself while remaining connected to the world. Stage 3, service without sacrifice, where perception becomes a gift you offer without depleting yourself. Stage 4, legacy without attachment, using your perception to contribute to collective evolution without needing personal recognition, turning integration into cultural medicine. Highly perceptive individuals help make unconscious contents conscious before they manifest destructively in collective behavior, serving as advanced scouts for psychological territories that humanity will eventually need to explore. Yet Jung warned of pitfalls like the inflation trap, the prophet complex, where the ego identifies with the archetype, leading to preaching and isolation. True integration requires dynamic maintenance, regular solitude, conscious choice of engagement, and ongoing shadow work. Remember Jung's 1913 patient? After 3 years of individuation, she transformed her life, learning to see more wisely and using her gift as a counselor. Your superior perception isn't a malfunction. You're just psychologically ahead of your time. If you recognize yourself, share in the comments which type of differentiated perceiver you are, and subscribe for more insights into Jung's discoveries. To explore further, check out my video on 7 dangerous Carl Jung psychology places that destroy your mind, where I reveal toxic environments and strategies for protecting your consciousness. Thank you for watching. See you in the next dimension.